Hey, Scotty Trail, I want you guys to check out my favorite show, Experimentally Ill.
I remember things. It's more than just void, darkness, unconsciousness. The mind does work. There are images, patterns, things to recollect. It's not just the long, deep sleep that comes when the fear has left. The cold is felt, the slipping away of feeling is noted and then succumbed to. The mind functions. Time is distorted, jumbled, telescoped, accordion, but there is a sense of time even so. And I remember things. I remember the way it began. I remember the way it was in the beginning.
I think he's lost his mind. He's never been like this before. Tonight he was almost raving.
What did you say?
Oh, crazy things, that he's some kind of a spaceman and that they're taking over the Earth and that we're all going to die.
Don't listen to me. They told me to keep in mind the scientific and what do we know about?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is January 23rd, 2025, episode 116 of the Experimentally Ill podcast. And this is your buddy, Michael O'Toole. And we're back. It's been a little bit, and had a little bit of a break doing the podcast. And I have our old friend Lawrence Hollie is on the phone from California. And if you don't know us, we usually, I like to say that the Experimentally Ill projects kind of are where pop culture meets counterculture. And occasionally on the podcast, we talk about stuff going on in our lives as creative people. I'm here in the New England area. And we also talk about mental health occasionally, stuff like that. And but I think the podcast has been going on off and on for a number of years now. And well, prior to that, we were videographers and filmmakers coming out of Massachusetts. And we've been pulling in a lot of our creative friends, like our old friend D.L. Polonsky, the local artist, who is on here several times with us. But usually it's the core, the duo is myself and Lawrence. And I think what we wanted to discuss, we wanted to get the audio podcast going again and kind of tie it into, over the past almost 2 years now, since 2023, I've been back at the event called Boston Open Screen, which takes place at the Coolidge Corner Theater in Brookline, Massachusetts. And in the past, we had other filmmaker friends of ours bring us to this event. Our friend Mick Cusimano, who made movies, and John Hartman, another filmmaker friend of ours, used to show stuff there. And it's an event where, anyway, it's like an open mic night for movies. So, you get 10 minutes to do whatever you want. And but over the past couple years now, I've been going pretty consistently. And prior to doing the podcast, where it was kind of an ensemble show, and then we did interviews with other creative people and our friends and stuff. We did a lot of public access TV shows, and so it's sort of, when we started going to the open screen again, I kind of got inspired to get back to doing more of that, and we came up with the Experimental Movie series, and we just debuted the 9th one of that, and we're on to almost 10 of these short movies, which are like compilations of different, usually 1 to 2 minute long pieces, surreal monologues, or, really comedy sketches, or really whatever we want within that 10-minute block. It's like a little show reel of what we've been working on, the past month or so, and it's gotten a pretty good reaction. So I think we wanted to, get back to the podcast and I always like to, you know, keep it conversational, talk to my friends, make a document out of it, put it out into the world. But yeah, the movie making, experimental movies have been pretty unique. So yeah, with that, I like to bring on the world's most famous pizza delivery driver, Lawrence Hollie. Hello. Turn down your radio, caller.
You old crow.
Yeah.
To heal yourself from anxiety, to heal yourself from society's rage, you don't get involved, you disengage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Out.
Yeah, I think. Are we allowed to talk about that portion of the movies, or like?
Yeah, because he. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, it's Lawrence Hollie, and Mike dropped a reference to me being the most famous pizza delivery guy. Don't forget, I also deliver sandwiches and Chinese food.
You may have seen his teeth for 2 seconds in the Barbie.
You might have seen my teeth, chiclet sized and gleaming, in the Barbie movie where I played cop number 5.
Yep.
I was fingerprinted. I don't want to talk
for
about
those who like Hollywood stories.
Hey, but check it out. No, you will see me. And now already this movie is old by Gen Z standards of what old is. 2023 is already old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in the Barbie movie for a couple of seconds. You can see me in the trailer.
There's a trailer.
I'm a cop, and I'm fingerprinting Ken in the scene where awesome. Ken is going to jail. But you know what? That's boring.
But we also can't forget most all the versions of the experimentally ill movies you can see on youtube.com/experimentally ill now.
But people in the audience like, what is an experimentally ill movie?
Right.
Well,
in your own words, what is it? Because I sort of
like. I think you're good at kind of bringing people up to speed. So let's do this. For those just coming into the story now, it has been a while since the last podcast.
The last one I think was all the way back in May of I talked to DL after I showed I think it was like a version of the first movie, or sort of like an amalgam of stuff that had our hit song "You Can Get Danny Trejo" featuring Machete and From Dusk Till Dawn actor Danny Trejo.
I think it's apropos to bring these people up to speed a little bit about what we've been, our little journey, our cinematic journey, don't you think? What do you think? Lay it on the audience, Mike. Tell them what we've been doing. The chronology of the experimentally ill movie series.
That's right. Well, I said that happened a couple of since like February 23. It's about to be the 2-year mark next month of creating the experimentally ill movie series, which prior to the actual movies of our own, it was that name was best known as the film festival we did, which was primarily a lot of other people's work, like our friends' work, that we would show at the Coolidge Corner Theater, which is a fairly famous like Art Deco theater near Boston that they show a lot of cult movies and midnight movies and things like that. So my experience is that they do like put their money where their mouth is as far as like being they're a non-profit theater, and they try to support the film community. I think the open screen shows that, and pretty active in the community with different events and things, and
us. So here's what's going down, people. Mm-hmm. Here's what's happening. So Coolidge, they're people, but then there's us. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me clear my throat.
We did. Clear
my throat.
Yeah.
And now I'm back to interrupt Mike. Let me do this.
Yeah.
Everybody, Get what Vanilla Ice say. Get present and listen.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what went down. The new.
I mean, it was like a banger.
sound.
We had a couple
Check it
banger
out.
screenings.
I haven't elaborated.
That's
Mike.
right. In your own words.
I haven't elaborated.
Why
Let
don't
me.
you tell us?
What here? Well, one. Yo. Generic black speak. So what happened was this. Somewhere along the path, back in October of 2023, Mike and I hit a crossroads in our creative journey together, and we both decided that then was the time to unleash upon the world our own brand of kind of experimental, random, wacky, artistic films. These films would not have a plot. There would not be a story arc. There would not be a coherent narrative to speak of. Instead, it would sort of be a tabula rasa of, various whatever the heck we came up with in the moment sketches.
Mm-hmm.
And you better believe it was of the moment, because oftentimes Mike and I are editing these things down to like the few hours before they go on the screen.
That's part of the experiment, I feel, is...
That's part of the experimental part. But
right.
Yeah, so what are these movies? They're just, for those that know, imagine, some of you old heads remember USA's Night Flight?
Right, it was compared to...
Do some of you old heads remember Liquid Television? Do some of you old people remember how Sesame Street used to be? When in the 70s, when it was weird and there was like... It was like shot in the ghetto, and there was like, there was the Muppets were weirder and rougher looking, and they had cartoons. Do you remember early Saturday Night Live when they had film strips? None of you remember this because all that stuff is ancient. But that's what we were kind of going for. It's kind of all right, Andy Milonakis.
Yeah, Tim and Eric. Awesome
Tim
show.
and Eric. There you go. For a modern version, it's Tim and Eric, Andy Milonakis. Wonder shows.
It's like a variety.
Random video. The best way to describe it is random video shit. So Mike and I kind of put our heads together, and Mike went a few months before our first showing in October of 2023. Mike went into the local cable studio of Cambridge called CCTV, and he brought a few of our friends in, and they just shot a whole bunch of crazy stuff on green screen.
Mm-hmm.
And, these were some of our fellow actors and artists like filmmaker John Hartman, actor, radio personality Hartley Pleshar, and weird gay local artist D.L. Polonsky. They all went in front of the green screen and just kind of went at it. They went nuts. And the greatest thing now is, in this world of digital wonders, even when we've exhausted all of that green screen footage, you can repurpose it with the wonders of digital animation.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, I can take a shot of somebody's face and animate their mouth with my own dialogue, ergo repurposing the footage, making it essentially all new footage. What does that mean to you, the audience? Mike and I can pump out hundreds of movies using the same old footage. But
don't reveal all your secrets.
What ended up happening was we started our first film screened in October of 2023 on Halloween.
It was on Devil's Night.
Devil's Night on this function at this place called the Coolidge Corner Theater. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's at the Coolidge. It's at the Coolidge, and the event is called Boston Open Screen. Never mind the history of it. That's boring as fuck. I don't care. I don't care about who puts it on. The only thing that matters is they show our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they showed our stuff. Mike showed up. He paid a fee. And for 8 months, we were consistent as heck. We had a new movie every month for 8 months. Like clockwork.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was newly made, nothing recycled, all new. And then we kind of had like a, open screen operates in seasons, right, Mike? Don't they shut down for the summer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They shut down for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fine because we wanted to take a little bit of a hiatus. We were sort of getting burned out by the hustle and bustle. But then it started up again, and we showed a few older movies to kind of get ourselves back in the game. But that brought us up to the other night, which was, what was the date, Mike?
That was the 21st of January, 2025.
January 1st, 2025 was our big old return with Experimentally Ill, the movie number 9.
Yeah.
Which arguably, I must say, was one of our best ones, Mike. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's interesting how these things like come together. The interesting thing of like where you'll edit some of the segments and then I'll edit some of the segments, and I think it's a really for the viewing audience, it makes for an eclectic experience where like if you like the stuff, you get a variety of stuff, and if it's not your thing, well, you just wait a couple minutes and there'll be something else that you might find interesting, and kind of, at the very least, it keeps your attention because it keeps moving, because we're living in a TikTok age today. So, but I think for us, for making the thing, the way that we're doing it is sort of the most efficient way, because other people, let's say if you had to do a narrative all the way through, it might be tough to kind of like split up the work and figure out how that would be done. But making individual segments and sticking them together, I think it's a pretty creative way to use the 10 minutes when they say, like, show us what you can do in 10 minutes. So yeah, that was the 9th one, and I think I think a lot of it is like leap and the net will appear. Like even when I'm editing and something works out, I never really think it's gonna work right away. And it's interesting, doing the things that, I mean, it could be anything, but I think, yeah, we leaning to the surreal in the style and leaning towards, comedic stuff. I think we kind of use creating things as a therapy, and it's nice to, use humor to sort of, I don't know, it makes you feel good, like you're not sure if it'll work, and then it works out, and then yeah, our stuff's been getting a lot of laughs and stuff, and I think, yeah, it was interesting that this one, I mean, it's easy to say that the last one is the best, whatever the last one is the best one, because you pulled it off, but yeah, this one had some dark humor in it, and sort of some things that really seemed to resonate, especially because this particular, the last night of the open screen was, it's usually on the second Tuesday of the month, but I guess that was booked, and so they had to do it later in the month. And also over here around Boston, it's gotten colder, and I just think it was about full, the theater, but they didn't have as many movies, or, I mean, it's always it's a gamble of what movies there'll be, and I just think our movie, and then also D.L. Polanski's movie that he made like 20 years ago or something, he calls it Mr. Richards' wacky mixed ability neighborhood, but we know it as Grill Interrupted, because if you wait, that's the big punchline, the pun at the end, since Richard is going to McLean's hospital to do a cooking segment, and his grill is actually interrupted by a doctor coming out and telling him to get out of there. So that one, actually, I think even DL said that it got like the most laughs that we'd probably ever heard. And it's interesting because that's probably a whole other younger generation that maybe grew up on some of the absurdist humor that is in that movie, which is kind of similar to what we're doing with the Ill movies now. So I think that particular audience just really, I think the material really resonated with them. I mean, any kind of art is subjective and it's a matter of taste and whatever, but I think it really connected. And one of the guys who facilitates the open screen said, "Hey man, that your thing, got like a big reaction." And up here, it's like, yeah, I didn't need you to tell me. Like I heard it, so that was pretty cool. Yeah.
So, folks, our jumping off point for like the jumping off point, more like the impetus for getting started in this whole movie making affair, it kind of was sort of a spontaneous thing in a way. Mike, I think, mentioned earlier that he and I used to put on a film festival called Experimentally Ill. You mentioned that earlier, Mike, didn't you? Or am I wrong?
Yeah.
But I was driving and I was kind of not paying full attention. So, anyways, Mike and I it was around 2008, we pooled our resources financially and also socially, like connecting with the various filmmakers we knew. And the idea was, well, all right, if nobody else is going to really, if the entry level to get into film festivals is a difficult one, never mind that. We'll make our own. So that was the idea at the time. And what we thought was the easiest way to get people in seats was not only to see our stuff, was to show the work of other people as well.
Yeah.
And thus was born the Experimentally Ill Film Festival. Experimentally Ill, why I was titled that, because we aimed to show things that were eclectic and strange, and you hear that overused term Dada-esque type of films, kind of bizarre, random, if you will. But we did those film festivals from 2008 to, I think it was 2012 was our final one, where we had Experimentally Ill 5. Or did we stop at 6, Mike? Was it 5 or 6? Getting bad, my memory.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's 5. I think it was 5. Yeah.
Yeah, we got 5 deep, and then
which was also in the same room that they do the open screen now.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
We had 5 deep, and then not long after that, I made my way to Los Angeles in January of 2014, where the chore of putting together a film festival bi-coastally is a little bit it's just that, a chore. So we kind of regrouped. Took us a while, over a decade to do so.
Well, but, in between that was like I was always doing the publicity for the film festivals and stuff, and so we would get articles in the local papers and stuff, and like that was exciting because one of the goals was, to get the word out and to get our name out and like let people know that we're doing this thing, and to be able to help friends of ours get their stuff out there. So it was sort of the thing of like doing it as like a collective of people that doing it together. We're like stronger together than separately, and we can sort of amplify our voice that way, and amplify marginalized voices, perhaps like artists we know that we're sort of weren't really getting as much of a foothold because of just the politics of the industry or the politics of the art scene, or weren't really able to navigate things socially as well. So we would sort of try to help them have a platform, whether it was the movie screen or on local TV. And when we were doing the publicity, one of the things I set up, there was like this upstart internet radio station on regular radio, and we went in and to do an interview, and then I thought it would be cool to do our own show there, trying to get our voices out there and our point of view out there, and so we did that. And then when that went away, as the story goes, I continued to do the podcast on my own at my place of residence. And so then, I was helping John Hartman make movies after you made the move, and then
that's what I'm talking. So that's what I'm. If I can interrupt, Mike, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So after the 5th festival, there was a considerable gap in time between the last film festival we did, Experimentally Ill 5 in 2012, to our latest efforts of the Experimentally Ill film series, which we began in 2023. In that time, Michael collaborated with, like he was just saying, a filmmaker, a friend of ours named John Hartman, who makes these really kind of throwback grindhouse sort of films. Concurrent with that,
you can see him. He has got kind of a big following now on TikTok. He's
now
Real Groovy Films.
He's one of those who was able to really utilize the TikTok format well, understand it, and he's made some headway doing that. Almost, I think, probably has gained more success doing that than he has his films, if I'm right.
Yeah,
I know.
He discusses like having ADHD, and I think that almost is like tailor made to the TikTok generation.
Yeah, it suits that sort of, but even suits that sort of creator type as well. If you're
right, because he sort of puts himself at the center of his videos and does a lot of these things himself. But previously, when he was making those just his own longer form movies, was kind of well known for shooting on like antiquated formats like Super 8 film, and then he was doing it on VHS for a while with the movie The Shackling that I was in, And
well, getting back on track for Mike for a minute, Mike, if I may, if you don't mind, I just want to kind of bring people up to speed on where the road that was taken to get to our films. I think it's important just so people can kind of get a feel of the process and how we ended up where we did, despite not really having that as a goal. So yeah, Mike, I'd say from 2015 maybe to 2017, you were involved with John and his films. 2015 to 2017.
I mean, The Shackling took him like 5 years to make. So we did The Shackling. Then there was a shorter Super 8 movie called El Terrifico.
So Michael was really heavily involved in that time period. Concurrent with that, I was over here in Hollywood, as it were, trying to knock around and getting involved, shooting my own little videos, projects with this person and that person. But I find life has now shown me, good collaborators really make the difference. Really determine good collaborators can determine the difference between failure and success. Depending upon your, who you are, how you work, and what your personality makeup is. I find that Mike and I often talk about this. We both contend with our own types of ADD. Now, I know there's some people out there who will say that, that's just a state of mind, you can fight it, it's just an excuse. But I honestly feel and believe that ADD is a real thing. I do not use it as an excuse. I don't think Mike does either. I can't speak for you, Mike. Do you ever find yourself falling back on ADD as an excuse?
No. I mean, I think procrastination can be sort of its own thing, and it's no, because I mean, I think that's a tough thing too. Like we were talking about, to get whether it's through like talk therapy or support groups or support from friends. Like when you arrive at a place where you're cognizant, you kind of come out of the weeds of sort of the cognitive dissonance of where you come to realize it's not like you're oblivious to what your difficulties are, or your, like, they say challenges or whatever, where you become sort of self-aware of that, and then you realize, okay, that's an obstacle, but then you're still like trying to find a way to actually like deal with that, if it's something that's impeding your progress. So yeah, ADD, or sometimes things like trauma or anxiety and depression, it can cause like executive dysfunction, where it's just like I mean, you can be the smartest person, but those executive functions, like learning how to make a plan, and like kind of sort of sequentially like following through with that plan, and how to manage time, and I just sort of learned that the difficulties with not having like a working memory, like being able to like when you're in the middle of the task, stay on the task and remember what the next step in the task is. And, so I think you have to set external, goals and like deadlines for yourself. So like in the case of the open screen, it was cool because it gave us like a deadline, so that's been pretty helpful. Yeah.
In addition to that, on that note, Mike, having the deadline, but also getting back to my point about, good collaborators can in some cases make the difference between failure and success. I've often found that for me, one of the things that have inspired me to get things done on time was to not let you down.
Yeah, holding each other accountable, and then kind of cheering each other on. That's what I found, whether it's a support group or I just a couple months ago, I took an acting class, and then just because there was like a lot of positive energy there when you're trying to do like a creative thing, you're trying to do a creative thing, you get all your essential needs are met, right? Food and water and stuff, but you have this like crazy idea to make like a wacky movie or something, and so that sort of sounds unreasonable to certain types of people. So yeah, finding those collaborators where that seems, well, it's a little unreasonable, but it's not like super crazy. Like we could do that. People who can take on the goal, but then people who want to like cheer you on because maybe they have similar goals and stuff. And so yeah, you don't want to let the collaborators down because they put in a similar effort. They were with you at the outset, and that's what's kind of cool about like we have a few people, let's say like, Hartley Pleshaw that we're working with, who's like, I found he's like really good at improvising these monologues, and he has sort of this newsman like tone, but he can also be really funny and stuff. But he's also, he's not really going to be like handling every part of the production, like it's, or like DL who might get stuck on some aspect of it. So it's sort of like finding collaborators that you can sort of that complementing each other's like strengths and weaknesses. Like I can't do what Hartley does, but Hartley can't do what I do. Like, edit the thing in a certain way. So it's it takes time to find those people, and we certainly run into a lot of kind of eccentric artist types, and it's been it's been interesting,
Yeah, Mike and I, where we were talking off mic about the different folks, artistic folks that we've collaborated with along the way over the years, and we've really in the process of discovering our mutual path and fulfilling our, at least at the moment, our current mutual destiny. Excuse me. We tried bringing different people with us along the way. Some folks have stayed for the journey, and other ones have gotten off the train. And going back to good collaborators are key. One of the keys to success in getting up to 9 entries of our current movie series was just that. Mike and I had to learn to develop a better creative rapport, which I feel is improved from how we used to be. Mm-hmm. Which it wasn't bad in the past, but I think it was definitely uneven. Mike is well aware that when I was younger, if you think I'm manic now, I would get manic flights of fancy. And this is back in the day, we're talking like 2005, 2006. I would get these manic flights of fancy. And back then, Mike and we both lived in Massachusetts together, so we hung out almost all the time. And Mike can attest to being with me at like 1 a.m, and I did some creative work, and we would want to go to one of the video studios I worked at, one of the local cable places, Mike.
Yeah. Local cable.
And since I had the key, I could go in and I'd create stuff, but nothing would come of it really. Like I put it on my local access show, and then, as Mike likes to bring up, the ultimate destination for all of that work was to be confined to a mini DV tape in the back of my trunk.
Right.
So, there was just, for all my windmilling craziness, there was just, I couldn't harness enough focus to see it through to a more productive end. And I can't fully speak for Mike, but Mike had no reason. My reading of Mike at the time was that he saw that and had little faith in my abilities to follow anything through. So why should he put forth the effort? So thus, it was this kind of, it was a lot of crazy effort on my side, and Mike being logically inert on his side, because why put forth the effort for something that he doesn't even know, what the fuck is going to happen to it.
Right.
But along the way, maturity happened.
Well, confidence also from more experience, and
right. I got to watch you grow. I mean, let's speak about Mike for a minute and my admiration for him as an on-screen presence.
He's a genius.
But I mean, I want the audience to understand, I'm speaking seriously here about Michael. He mentioned about being an actor earlier. I watched Mike, and I can brag a little bit that I had some sort of hand in this if he ever becomes popular. Well, when he does become popular, I had a minor hand in it. Because I watched him go from being kind of shy in front of the camera to being, as I always knew he would be, a really engaging host or MC type.
Mm-hmm.
The beginnings of you being an MC on screen, if I'm not mistaken, began on my old public access show, Random Acts.
Yeah.
Where, am I right or am I wrong?
Well, that's
about
true,
that,
because around that time, and that was like 2001, 2, 3, by that time, and I was doing a show, Insubordinate, which was sort of like a home video thing with friends, and had psychedelic visuals to it, kind of, but I was never actually, like, on camera, even though I sort of aspired to do things like that.
You're never the master of ceremonies.
Yeah, so... And
I just, in Mike, I saw the, the youthful voix de vie that, and more of an engagement with the audience where I show contempt for the audience. Michael shows...
It's like the Jerry Seinfeld versus Larry David.
Yeah. Michael shows, genuine empathy and a warmness to him. And
That's
I'm like,
right.
there's less...
There's less sociopathic tendencies.
There's a little bit more of it, and yet he has a little bit, just enough of an edge to match the sort of avant-garde shenanigans going on in the show. So I thought he'd be the perfect host. Excuse me while I blow my nose.
Yeah.
But anyways, I saw him develop over time, and eventually he branched out to do the podcast, the radio show, and whatever have you.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, he's so effortless that he shoots his own segments, his little kind of talking head segments, these sort of narrative spoken word things that he puts into the Experimentally Ill movies.
How do you I mean, like, when you see me, like, doing that, because I also get inspired, too, from some of your, like, visual things, because we're, like, working in the same app and stuff. Some of the I'm still learning how to do, but, yeah, so...
Still trying to get Mike to learn keyframing.
Yeah, so is that by now, like, oh, that's to be expected that, like, I'm doing that stuff? Or is it still like, oh, wow, like, that's the guy who was shy to do this?
What I really love now, though, is there's on both sides, on both sides of the aisle, mine and his, there is a mutual concerted effort. And it's now, despite our bouts and battles with ADD, we found a groove, and it's a concentrated, dedicated effort to get this thing done on time. And we both found our voice, and there's an acceptance of, the different aesthetic that both he and I have. I think for a time there was a little bit of Mike was kind of working his way around my sort of anarchic, somewhat sadistic visual tendencies that I had.
Now we both blow up whichever talent is on the screen.
Right. Now we both take turns blowing up or electrocuting the talent.
Right.
In the most recent work, I took an animated buzzsaw to my friends in foil, D.L. Polonsky, who just is very. I mean, understand. I know it seems abusive.
We
but
learned that
really,
there's a contingent of the underground film audience who really seems to like dark humor and violence. So
I'm so fascinated.
It's still
by
comedic.
DL.
It's still comedic violence. It's still ultimately harmless, and of course, it was all a dream. So that makes
It's always a dream.
Yeah.
DL with his puns and his rhymes and his idiosyncratic, oddball behavior sometimes drives me over the edge. And I am left with no other recourse but to want to... I like him, and I don't hate him, but sometimes I need him out of existence.
Yeah.
So that's what I do on screen. I will blow him up, I'll electrocute him, I'll saw into his scalp, and he's free to do the same to me, and that's okay. My point, this all sounds crazy and banana land, banana clown shoes, and it is. But the point is that our aesthetics have developed over time, and now our understanding and acceptance of our mutual aesthetics have eliminated any roadblocks to completion to the point where we're able to just belt out these movies. Mike has his, I have mine.
And it does have like a cohesion, like on the whole too. I think that was accomplished in the last one, the 9th one too. I think there's enough of a difference between our styles, and yet enough of a similarity that doesn't make them seem like incongruence. Right, DL did say your edits were more sadistic than
they are, and he's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Because if you watch Experimental 9, I made sure to, when I buzzsaw DL's head open, I made sure to have the grinding sound of buzzsaw and bone.
Okay, yeah, that attention to detail is really what
I really wanted to
grab the audience,
bring the shock, but not getting off the path. But so Mike and I, once we got around our ADD and yada yada yakety smackety, we began our filmmaking journey in earnest on October 23rd, when we, as they say, a Devil's Night, we got our first entry into the Experimental film series.
I think that's October 30th, right? You love dates.
We got it onto the open screen at the Coolidge Corner Theater, and we haven't stopped. It's a grind, but it's worthwhile. It puts paid to old goals that I had. Mike and I definitely set out to make at the very least 10 of these things, and now that we passed number 9, this is a big deal for us to get to the 10th entry and maybe, at least close the book on that phase of it. Not that we're going to stop making the films, but we will close the book on that particular goal. Do you know what I mean, Mike?
Yeah. So I think it's, I think the collective effort of everybody who's helping in some way to get these done, it should be celebrated. It's cool that having a place to screen them right away, like in the public, it takes everything out of the realm of hypothetical, and so it keeps us accountable.
And one of the things that creates second-guessing creatives like Mike and I think we both, in the past, what would happen is, especially when I was younger, we would both, sometimes we had a propensity to second-guess our work, and that was one of the things that stopped me back in the day, was second-guessing the purpose of why I was doing it, and was there a place for it, and we both were fortunate enough to come to the conclusion that, vision is worth it as anybody. When you live in a world where somebody like the Hawk Tuah girl,
right, she becomes a huge star.
The conclusion was like, yeah, in a world where like someone like the Hawk Tuah girl, or even an older Poe, like the chocolate. Remember the Chocolate Rain guy?
Mm-hmm.
Any sort of trivial internet presence who got there 15 minutes, we realized that, you know, ours. It's not a question of, it's not a statement of being better or worse, but I would think ours is definitely more artistic than Hawk Tuah.
Yeah, and
there's definitely more going on.
It just shows you, like, yeah, marketing the thing and trying to get publicity, and that's sort of its own thing, you know. It's all like a luck. It's kind of random, but
it's luck. It's kind of random, but the point is worth.
Yeah,
and you know, finding the worth within ourselves to complete and show it. I realized that, you know, ours. Oh, you know, someone once said, like, I think at one of the shows you told me that somebody made an allusion to our work being like Tim and Eric, and saying that we relate to the game or something like that. Like they.
Oh yeah, that like, yeah, with a segment that DL was in, and there were these kids that did their own animations, and they were like, how long have you been doing this? Because are you mad that Tim and Eric ripped you off? You know,
and that's you know, it's like, fine, but
yeah.
We're not doing Tim and Eric. We're not trying to do it. This is our version of insanity.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is as valid as Tim and Eric's, or as valid as anyone else who does something similar. To the people who, to folks who are doing something similar to us, or who will do it after us, it's as valid as that one is going to be.
Yeah.
You don't just. We had to learn that you don't not do it.
Yeah, you can always you can always bring your own perspective to like a genre. You know, it's like so.
David Bowie, the late great David Bowie, once said, he goes, "It's not about who does it first." He goes, "It's about who does it second."
Yeah. Yeah, usually the second person like refines it, you know, so it's like, yeah.
That's right. And even he, you know, everybody looks at Bowie as this great original creator of avant-garde, weird glam rock. And at the same time, he was not the first person to have done such things. He just perfected it in his own way, or he made it his own brand. Maybe a person may not call it perfect, but he made his own brand of it.
Yeah.
To the point where you forget the original people who did similar things.
Yeah, I think.
But that's just the point. That's just the point. So we had to get around our own stinking thinking.
Yeah.
And realize that our perspective is as valuable as anyone else's.
Yeah, and I think and the only way to get better and perfect something is to just keep practicing it and keep working at it. And it's like so many, I think, people that we worked with maybe like way in the past, you know, or maybe who wanted our help with something. It's like this idea of you don't just kind of like, you know, sit around and then like, well, I'll only do the thing if it's guaranteed success, or, you know, I'll only do the thing if it's like my ultimate like dream thing. It's like the only way you're going to get better is if you do like little bits of it all the time. You have to like ritualize the thing, because what do they say, like luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So like you don't just like go to sleep and then like Spielberg knocks on your door and then is going to like whisk you away to, you know, your acting dream or your filmmaking like dream or something. You know, you also can't like use somebody else as the key to your own dreams, because it's like you need to be practicing the thing. It's not like, you know, so you work at it like little bits here and there. It's not just like, you know, it's all building towards the next thing, you know.
And talent, remember kids, talent is nothing if you don't do anything with it.
Yeah, or the phrase is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And
there you go.
It's like, that's the thing, like there's plenty of untalented people who become like really successful, you know, because it's like they just sort of double down on it. Or like we know people, or sometimes we would have, you know, we would do something and be like really good, but it's like if you only do it once, you know, like where's that going to get you? You know, it's like it's you have to sort of keep getting up to bat, you know.
I learned my lesson years ago. I remember and I've told Mike this off mic multiple times, but when I was a kid, I was a ham bone. I liked doing impersonations of people in front of other people, and
that sounds familiar.
You know, when you're a kid, you come off as precocious.
Yeah.
And if you're a little bit more outgoing, and you're good at doing impressions or whatnot, if you have some sort of showbiz skill that can kind of blow people away and make them dream of a world that's going to be bigger and better for you. Ergo, my mom would say, you know, oh, you're going to be an actor. My mom was just, you know, no offense to her or anything else, but she was a conflicted individual, a Jehovah's Witness, and also a very manic person who I think had a lot of her own regrets in regards to art type things that she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But she was hamstrung by being a parent and also a Jehovah's Witness, which does not allow for an artistic lifestyle. Anyways, I don't want to go down that path. Point is she used to always say, like, oh, you know, you're going to be, about me, she would say, oh, you're going to be a talent and this and that. And, oh, you should be in movies. And I'm like, right, Ma, but okay. So then eventually my mom and I lost contact for a couple of decades. And then around 2017, for a very brief period, we started talking again. And by that point, I'd been in Hollywood for about 6 years. And I was an older guy, 44. And, you know, I hadn't found success in the movies yet, but I hadn't fully edged myself in that direction. I had done a lot of extra work and background work, but, you know, I tried different things like acting and whatnot, but it takes time. There's no direct, easy path to it. Just because I can do impersonations or I like being in front of the camera does not mean, okay, I'm not camera shy and I can be a ham bone, ergo I'm going to be the star of a Marvel movie.
Right.
So, but that's how my mom thought, though. She just thought, well, you know, you have all this talent. I remember she kept emailing me like, oh, why haven't they discovered you and why aren't you in bigger movies and why aren't you the head of this movie and that, and I don't understand. I'm like, Mom, I just go, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of people in this town who have talent.
Yeah.
And
if that's all it took. Yeah.
Remember, as you are clawing your way to the top, there's thousands of other people doing it harder. So that's what you're up against. So if you flag on your pursuits in any way, or even if you're diligent and you keep at it, it's not a guarantee for success. It doesn't by any means mean stop doing it. It just means understand the world you work in.
Yeah. I think it's also we're struggling, like, not naturally being inclined to be like those type A kind of people who just always want to make everything into a competition and kind of climb the ladder and stuff. I think it's kind of a shame that art becomes like a competition, but the fact is anything that a lot of people want in life, there's going to be competition. So it's like you have to find a way. You have to find a way to network and meet new people because you want to meet some good people, but it's also like no man is an island. You know, you have to let people know who you are and what you actually want. So.
So, getting back to the movies that Mike and I have been showing at the Coolidge every month, our experimentally ill film series, for us, I've often likened it when in our conversations. I'll often liken the film series that we make. I liken them to doing reps at the gym.
Yeah.
That it's for us. We just needed to be consistent and develop confidence by getting our work out there, getting it in front of people, sometimes ready or not, and just, setting it and forgetting it, letting go of it once it's on that screen and moving on to the next one. Because perfectionism And that sort of OCD type ride gets you nowhere when you're trying to get this stuff done and get out there. So Mike and I have now developed this momentum, which I think has aided each of us in our own individual goals of trying to break into the old showbiz game. You know, you take acting classes and you've taken screenwriting classes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you think
That's
that
cool.
kind of do you feel that doing the film series that we've done, do you feel that the consistency has sort of helped you in other creative avenues of life?
Yeah, I mean, it gives us like materials you can that you can pitch, and it's helped build my confidence because, like you say, it's sort of like they talked about in screenwriting. A lot of writing is about specificity, like being really specific about like something that's going on, and it's interesting. And you also talked about, you know, that with comedy, it's like it's the truth in comedy that makes something funny or relatable and stuff, and it's sort of interesting sometimes to you know, put something together that, you know, you or I, you know, that we find funny or interesting, and then to sort of like put that in front of people and getting laughs or getting like good feedback on it. And you know, even if something doesn't 100% work too, you learn something. But that was like really cool, and it's satisfying. It's cathartic to get something done that's, you know, your own point of view, especially if it's like based on your experiences, like somehow. And then yeah, I remember like first getting feedback in the writing classes. You had to bring a new 12 pages every few weeks, and then, you know, getting laughs and stuff, because that was always like my kind of insecurity, like, oh, is this funny, or will people even think this is funny and stuff. And you know, because I thought, you know, to be really funny, you have to be like really smart. You should be smart, and so I was always trying to like aim for this, and try to get over that shyness. Like if you worry too much about what people think, that can sort of hinder it too, if you're worrying too much about the end goal or something. So it helps my confidence being up on the screen too, in front of people, and just sort of going for it. Yeah, I liken it to like going on a roller coaster and you know, going down the track and trying to overcome that, you know, stage fright or whatever. And the more you get up there, the more you get confident because you get experience. And I also just wanted people to see myself and my friends and sort of the way that I saw them. Like, oh, these guys are funny and interesting. And you know, you talked about too a lot of doing the ill movies and having the deadline. It helped, like ideas that we might have had that might have just been little like flights of fancy like in our head, or that would just be like in jokes between you and I, that we're actually sort of realizing them onto the screen now. So that's sort of, and so, you know, making other people think about those things that like they have no point of reference to. So that's kind of exciting too, you know.
I was just thinking, Mike, on that note, as we near the end of this, I was thinking, and this is you can do it or not. This can stay on the air. Maybe you want to add in one of the audio clips of our friend AI8 reading one of those poems from the latest Experimentally 09. If not, that's okay. Mike will have the link to Experimentally 09 where you can watch it on our YouTube page, I'm sure, in the description of the podcast.
Yeah, that's that was a popular segment of the last movie, I believe, was AJ8's Poetry Corner. So
AI8, Mike.
AI8, I'm sorry.
He's our new... AI8 is a version of one of our old acting buddies, who his name was AJ8. He's not going to listen to this. He's kind of a little bit of a, what you'd call a rough around the edges, kind of a hard-living guy.
He's a streetwise philosophy. He's a streetwise
philosophy, and I distilled that personality into his segments, a version of his character called AI8 instead of AJ8. None of that is making any sense, but we are at an hour, and we're glad that you all followed along. I hope we didn't lose any of you, and I'm assuming you all followed along.
Yeah.
Maybe wrongfully so. Whatever the case, Mike and I got to talk and do an episode, and it was good.
Yeah.
Back on track.
We need.
Hopefully, we do more of these.
Yeah.
And Mike, so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now, what's the date currently? What's today?
The 23rd. Into
January
the
23rd, 2025. And the next open screen from this point is when?
February 11th, 2025.
All right.
At 7 p.m.
So if any of you are listening to this between now, January, well, I don't know if you're going to post this today, Mike, but let's say you're listening to this sometime in late January 2025 and before February 11th, we are probably not going to have a 10th installment of the Experimentally Ill film series at the next open screen. But we're definitely going to have a 10th installment for the one in March.
Well, I will be there with something to show, though. So
Mike will be there with something. We don't know what it is yet.
There's also the open screen LA, which mysteriously Lawrence wasn't at, but we had a supporter of ours show right before LA burned down. They showed the festival cut of the Experimentally Ill. The movie #1 was shown at the Lyric Hyperion bar and theater in I think it's in Silver Lake, California, which I guess still counts as LA. So
I'm safely ensconced over in the Coachella Valley, which is many miles away from Los Angeles proper, far away from the fires there. Those listening to this from some far away point in history, Southern California, the Los Angeles area is pretty much in the process of burning to the ground right now as we speak.
It's the Pacific Palisades. I'm not sure what.
And it's spread out to an area also called Altadena, which is near Pasadena, which is a distance from the Palisades.
Next to Alta Movies.
Alta Movies. So, folks, if you're in the Boston area, February 11th, 2025, open screen, show up, be there, get your tickets early, though.
Yeah, it does.
The place fills up.
It does frequently sell out. So,
what do you think you're going to show at this February 11th show?
I guess we're not sure yet. We talked about showing the short comedic documentary you made about me, and changing
an altered version of it.
Yeah, which actually was an award-winning documentary. Won the session favorite at the Screaming Ostrich International Film Festival. I took home a giant plastic egg, but the audience doesn't care about that. They just want to be entertained. So we don't need to win a trophy all the time. Or maybe one of the previous Experimentally Ill movies. And everyone else can check it out on youtube.com/experimentallyill or on the Internet Archive, or they can listen to the previous 115 episodes in the audio podcast. And
we have an on again, off again. We also have an on again, off again presence on various local cable channels.
Yeah, Cambridge Community Television.
Cambridge Community Television, where they've been showing our first episode, I think, for over a year now. And we were on Needham Television. I don't know if we are anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know if we are, Mike, or?
Probably not. But
probably not.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're gonna get back on there and get on maybe onto the Santa Barbara's TV channel.
Lots of exciting developments.
Yeah. But check it out. Go to
many cultures, many languages.
experimentallyill.com is the site, which I'll be updating soon. And
that's right.
Yeah, just thanks to everybody who a lot of times people will come up to like DL and I because they'll recognize us from the movies and they'll just say nice things. There was a girl right behind me after the 9th movie played and she was like, I loved every single second of it. And I mean, and it's just been it's just been cool to. I mean, I know. I mean, you especially. We're not necessarily like market testing this or changing something, but it's interesting to sort of take these kind of sort of like on the surface maybe disparate segments, sticking them together, and you just wonder, does anyone relate to this, or what do they think? Or I like this, but you go, maybe I'm biased or something, and then it's been pretty cool to like put it up in front of people, and that's sort of the whole thing, I guess. Sort of a missing. I never went to like a big film school or anything, and so I guess that was sort of the missing like component is doing it like an open mic, So yeah, all these people come and fill the seats, watch their thing, and it's been. And anyone in the public can go too, and that's been kind of gratifying to put our own little like weird world up there, and yeah. So I'm not sure. We can get into some more, another time. I'd like to keep the podcast going, and just like to encourage everyone listening to do the same, to just take a risk creatively. If you have a weird little idea, the only way you're going to drum up any interest or any following at all is to just keep putting it out there, even if it's for just you and your friends, and then you put it out to a broader audience, and maybe they'll love it too. Maybe they just don't know it exists. I mean, there's just so much competition, but you can't let that deter you from following your dreams. And like movie making, it's like the closest thing you can do to like show people like literally like what your dreams are like these weird, and that's the experimentally ill movies have been described as like a dream-like thing, or I suppose sometimes nightmarish if you watch parts of the last one.
Oniric, nightmarish, surreal, abstract, Dada-esque, any number of those describe absurdist, nonsense, goofball,
fun,
and
thanks to like...
And somewhat sentimental. We had I'll dare say I'm a bit of a softie sometimes. When we had a segment of Michael's mother singing The Gambler, and it was such a little... kind of I don't know what it was.
Somehow that really worked. Like somehow in there, that's good.
In all the chaos of the movie, when we got to that, it was such a silent, touching little. Because I mentioned to Mom, I mentioned to Mike that my mother used to sing to me when I was a little kid. She used to sing to me before sleep sometimes, and that's kind of like one of the most tender things a mother can do with their child. And it was Mike and his mom there, and it's kind of the uncertain, and this is not disparaging or knocking in any way, but Mike's mom is up in years, and she's currently being cared for, and just to see her in that facility where Mike was spending those few minutes with her was like this tender moment captured in time. I'm making more than maybe you even thought it was, but to me, that's what it struck me as. It was this little captured moment of her singing a portion of Kenny Rogers' The Gambler, and when it got
which
to
is
the
her
end
like
of her
song of choice these days,
and when it got to the end of what she was singing, I cut it off mid-song, and she said at the very end, she just goes, "There's more of it.
There's still more of it.
There's still more of it." And then it cuts to the next segment, and it was like, I don't know what it was, but it gave me one of those, if you remember from SNL when Mike Myers used to go, "I'm getting verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. I think I'm going to cry." It was one of those little moments, and I'm like, that is so pure. And then it went immediately into a segment of insanity.
Yeah, I just thought that was like, we'll pull at the heartstrings and then send the crowd home happy with some weird crap.
And it kind of represents real life. Like, real life, you can have a beautiful moment of tenderness and then have, absolute mayhem and sadism occur in the very next breath.
And those are two kind of polarizing parts of my life, too. Like shooting a segment with the streetwise poet brawler guy, and then like a quiet moment with your mom and stuff.
Nice. But it wasn't out of place. Like, you might think, oh, well, yeah, your mom isn't. No, yeah. Believe it or not, it fit. Her segment fit perfectly. It absolutely, It sounds weird when you hear about it, but when you see it, it works.
Yeah. And then my mom has seen enough of these, the movies and things like where she's like, no, that's in the movie, right? Like, put that in the movie. Like,
in the movie.
Yeah.
We put it in. And then she says, I just opened my mouth and out it came. And then I go, of course you did. You're creative.
Yeah.
Like from Wayne's World 1, which no one will remember. I don't know.
Right.
But that's a bad dated reference. Hey, Mike, I think it's time to send people off. We did it. We did our time.
Yes. We've done our time, and come back for next week's session. Or, I just can't tell you the amount of people who, when they see that I'm doing the movies or the podcast, whatever, and say, oh, I like to work on your movies, like to be in your movies, or oh, like I like to be on the podcast, you should interview me, or then the other people, I don't know, I couldn't do it, I wouldn't know what to say or whatever. It's like the only thing that counts is the people who are actually doing it, which is so far as like me and Lawrence and DL and the inner circle, inner sanctum. So I like to keep it rolling, and maybe reach out to some other people. And it's good to get back to it. And
send them off, Mike, with the official send off, or else my OCD will kick in.
Well, once again, experimentallyill.com, and this has been episode 116, January 23rd, 2025. Michael Phelan O'Toole and Lawrence Hollie, Pizza Man and Filmmaker. And until next time, where there is an ill, there is a way. So, be part of the experiment right here on Experimentally Ill.
And the world. Bye.
Here's another poem. Sit back and love it. This one's called Bingo Bongo Bing. The sea serpent swims from the dark to the sea. Prehistoric creature staring down at me. Jellyfish's tendrils adhere its sting. While the bells on the shore go bingo bongo bing. She crashed down hard from an acid high and face planted in the sand because she thought she could fly. God, she looked like a jerk and I couldn't stop laughing as the bells on the shore go bingo bongo bing. You go where the mermaids watch, peering at you from the waves with wall-eyed gaze. No one else this side of the beach anymore. Barnacles, dead dolphins on sand. Fish guts everywhere, and that's a human hand. I feel like God as I watch two sharks fucking. As the bells on the shore go bingo bongo bing. I'm only serious. Out.
I think he's lost his mind. He's never been like this before. Tonight he was almost raving.
What did you say?
Oh, crazy things. That he's some kind of a spaceman, and that they're taking over the Earth, and that we're all going to die.
Don't listen to them. They told me to keep in mind the scientific and what we know.